Hello, my beautiful lovelies, and welcome to your would have been episode on Monday. My name is Jamie, and if you haven't ever been on my channel before, usually I start with my videos with a tea of the week. This week, I have come across the dilemma of should I continue doing tea of the week or should I spend more time on the book reviews that I should be doing. I'm a little late on posting my Monday video, and that's just because I had something come up yesterday that I absolutely needed to do, which is why we're doing this on a Tuesday. But last week I had a couple of really good reads except for one, and this week I have actually, all of them did very, very well. At least all of them were 4 stars, if not 5. So getting into our book reviews of the week, I started off with one that has been on my shelf forever and has also been probably one of the more popular books back in, 2011-ish? And that is Maze Runner by James Dashner. I have, unfortunately, seen all of the movies. My mother and my sister wanted to see the movies. So instead of reading all the books like I planned to do, I had not read any of them, watched all the movies, and just realized until recently that I had still yet to read, have not read any of the books still. So this is number 1 in the 4, now 5 book series. When Thomas wakes up on the lift, the only thing he can remember is his name. He's surrounded by strangers, boys whose memories are also gone. Nice to meet you, Shay. Welcome to the Glade. Outside the towering stone walls that surround the Glade is a limitless, ever-changing maze. It's the only way out, and no one has ever made it through alive. When a girl arrives, the first girl ever, and the message she delivers is terrifying. This is a story about them making their way through the maze, figuring out what their purpose is. For those of you who haven't read the Maze Runner series, which probably isn't very many, but I'm still going to say it nonetheless, it is a very, very good read. I think the books were not as good as the movies, and it's very rare for me to say that because I do like the books better than the movies more than half the time. But this one, it just did Thomas better justice, if that makes sense. I think the part that I remember the most about this series was Thomas in the books just seemed like an a-hole. Okay, he fussed off the people who were actually trying to help him. He was like, oh, boo-hoo me. That's how I described him in the books. He wasn't like that in the movies, not to that extent. And I think that's the part that threw me off the most, was I didn't realize how much they changed Thomas's character until reading the book. So for that book, I gave it a 4 to 5 star, don't remember which. But if you haven't watched the movies, it explained it a little bit better than it did in the books. You really didn't get an explanation until the very, very end, and even then it's a little vague. The second one that I read for this week was Dear Haiti, Love, Alaine. I have had this book on my shelf for a very long time. Obviously, this is a proof copy from Second and Charles when it first released. So I've had this for quite a while. It was in the free bin. She's a young adult literature. She reads like an adult literary because it doesn't strike you as young adult, even though we have a teenager perspective. But it just didn't strike me as a young adult book. Like a young adult would pick this up. I read it as an adult, and it read like an adult book. The only thing I really liked about this book, because I have so many mixed feelings about this, was I love the culture and how much of Haiti that we got in this book. Different facts about the culture, we got the food aspect, we got some of the historical. There was a lot in there that was put in this book, and I did love that aspect of it. When a school presentation goes very wrong, Alaine, I still don't know how to pronounce her name, so I'm just going to call it B, finds herself suspended and shipped off to Haiti. Thanks to the incident, don't ask, she is spending the next 2 months doing what her school is calling a spring volunteer immersion project. It is definitely no vacation. She'll toil away under the ever-watchful eyes of her Tati, Estelle, and her new nonprofit. And her usually absent lean-in queen of a mother is even there too, lying low away from the media sharks after a much more public incident than her own. There are some pretty nice perks, like flirting with Tati's distractingly cute intern, getting FaceTime with her mom and experiencing Haiti for the first time, but learning the truth about her mother's meltdown and how she might be able to help sets Alaine on the path that she never thought she would imagine. The plot line itself just confused me because it's like they tried doing different plot lines and combined them all together. There was the part about her mother, there was the part of her just being there trying to solve their family dilemmas. There was another one that just went off the rails and we're like, we're just gonna add this in too while they're having their vacation moment. It just was very confusing, and then there was also other things dealing with their family that was in here. I'm not gonna reveal any of that. But it was very, very confusing plot line. There was no set plot line. Because of that, I don't think it had as strong of an ending as it could have been. It wasn't horrible. It was just confusing. It was good. It was a good story and very informative about Haiti. I think I gave it like a 3 to 4 star. I'm not exactly sure which one I gave it. So moving on, I skipped a little bit ahead because, well, one, it popped up on my eeny, meeny, miny, mo's. But this is a little bit more of a Christmas book than a fall book, so I kind of skipped ahead a little bit. But I was very, very curious. I just needed something to loosen up my mood, and Christmas time is one of my favorite times of the year where I get to be a little happier than I normally am. And so we got to The Redbird Christmas by Fannie Flagg. This book I absolutely loved. Fannie Flagg writes so well. There's not hardly any dialogue in it. She's more like describing what's going on and how everybody's dealing with it. And we have so many different perspectives that hops from paragraph to paragraph, but it works. It works really, really well. It's the same writing style as Paul Richard Evans. So for those of you who like Paul Richard Evans, she is very, very similar in her writing. I love how much of the character development we got in this. It was amazing. After a startling diagnosis from his doctor, Oswald T. Campbell leaves behind the cool and damp of the oncoming Chicago winter to spend what he believes will be his last Christmas in the warm, welcoming town of Lost River. There he meets a postman who delivers mail by boat, a store owner, the ladies of the Mystic Order of the Royal Polka Dot Secret Society. That society was awesome. I loved reading. The Mystic Order of the Royal Polka Dot Secret Society, who do good works, and he meets a little red bird named Jack, who is at the center of this tale of a magical Christmas, when something so amazing happens that those who witness will never forget. Once you experience the wonder, you too will never forget a Redbird Christmas. It is a very, very cute story. It's very hometown feel. It's like if Nantucket went to a different location. Like how Ellen Hildebrand writes about Nantucket. She writes about different small town city locations and kind of brings them to life a little bit. And I love that about her writing. I really, really do. Last, this brings me to a book that has been on my shelf since I was in high school, again, and I never got the chance to read any more of her books, and this is The Unwritten Rule by Elizabeth Scott. She's the same author who wrote Bloom. I cringed so much in this book, and not a bad cringe, just the situation that this girl is in, and I'm about to explain it to you. So starting off with the first sentence, and this is going to tell you what kind of book this is. Everyone knows the unwritten rule between best friends. You don't like your best friend's boyfriend. We already have problems. Sarah has had a crush on Ryan for years. He's easy to talk to, super smart, and totally gets her. Lately, it even seems like he's paying extra attention to her. Everything would be perfect except for 2 tiny details. Ryan is Brianna's boyfriend, and Brianna is Sarah's best friend. So Sarah forces herself to avoid Ryan and tries to convince herself not to like him. She feels so guilty for wanting him. The last thing she wants to do is hurt her best friend. But when she is thrown together with Ryan one night, something happens between them. It's wonderful and awful. Sarah is torn apart by guilt, but what she feels is nothing short of addiction, and she can't stop herself from wanting more. Can you see the problem and why it gave me anxiety so bad? So looking at this, I think this is every best friend's worst nightmare, because the last thing you want is to be attracted to your best friend's boyfriend. And I think that goes for anybody. This is a very short read. It's a very short story, so I read this in like a couple of hours, which wasn't that bad. But this is good. It was a good story, I'll admit. For a young adult growing of age story, it was very, very good. I'm not gonna lie. However, I think this audience for this book is more directed towards those who are in a very similar situation, especially when the best friend is a little bit of a drama queen and an over-exaggerator. But this book cracked me up so much because I could see everything coming. You know these type of situations don't end well. It's just a matter of how bad it was is the part that got me the most. So overall, I gave this a 5. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 5. I think I'm just gonna keep this book on my shelf because of how much it made me laugh and how much it made me cringe. I think I may keep it for my daughter in case she is in a very similar situation. That's how interactive the book was. Is just, you shouldn't do these kind of things, but in case you're in the middle of something like this is a good book to consult on that department. The first one I'm going to be reading this week is Second Chance Summer. She's another Morgan Mattinson book. I've already read Save the Date by her, which is right here, and I actually really, really enjoy her writing. She goes into a lot of detail about a lot of things, a lot of backstories, not very much dialogue in between everything unless one of the characters is interacting, but it works really, really well. This one, I have a feeling, is going to be an emotional train wreck. So Taylor Edwards has a tendency to run away when things get tough, but when her father is diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, Taylor knows this is one situation that she cannot run. There's more in the synopsis, but that alone has me scared because I do not do well with medical situations, especially when it comes to big family members, because that is one of my worst fears in life, is someone having to go through that. So if this whole book is about her dealing with her father and how he goes through his process, because this is stage 4, and we all know what happens in stage 4. It's not good. It's really not good. But with nights full of fireflies and fireworks, the summer holds possibility of forgiveness and maybe even love. Taylor wants to hold on to the moment instead of walking away, but she knows the end of summer is getting closer and that time is running out to make most of her second chance. There's a lot more into the story. I know it's a little bit of a romance because most of her books usually involve a little bit of it, but it's more about giving you a lesson. Her last one was don't take everything so seriously from Save the Date and enjoy those moments. This one, I think, is don't run away from your problems. That's the vibe I'm giving off of this. So I definitely will let you guys know what I think of this. Next up is a little bit of a classic one. I have never read any of these, and I doubt very many people have read all 7 books, because for The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, there's actually 7 books. I'm probably going to read the first one instead of reading this whole thing, because this is 7 books, and that will take me forever, especially with how the writing is. It is a very, very extensive page book. I will definitely let you guys know if it's a little bit different than the movie, because we do know that a lot of the times, especially with the older ones, sometimes the book doesn't directly match up with it, or they leave a lot of things out to save on the time. So I'll definitely let you guys know if there's a lot of differences or not a lot of differences. They got most of them. This next one, I have a feeling I am gonna have to get the cheat version of this book. It's Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Like I said in one of my other videos, Charles Dickens and I do not agree with each other. I cannot read his works. It is very, very difficult. He is harder to read, in my opinion, than Shakespeare. Shakespeare, you can kind of get the gist. You have to focus so hard. If you can read him, bravo to you. Bravo to you. That's all I gotta say about that. So I will, because this is a thick one. So I'm gonna have to listen to the shortened audiobook of this one if I'm gonna actually read it in the week, because I'm scared to read this one. But I'll let you guys know how that goes. Next one that popped up, it was just classic week this week. I picked classic after classic, and apparently I'm just trying to catch up with it. The next one I have is Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This was given to me a long time ago. It's one of my family's books they wanted me to read. And it is very, very short compared to what you would think would be the original story. But it seems very, very short, so I may be able to read this in like a couple of hours, maybe 2 or 3. Very curious of how the original story is, because we see movies all the time that have Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde or both, and we move forward with how they interact with the movie. I'm very, very curious to see how this plays into just being by itself, just the story by itself. There is 76 pages in here. I will have this done by the end of the day. I can guarantee you that. So I'll definitely let you guys know how this one goes. If you guys still want me to do Tea of the Week, please let me know, and I'll try to incorporate it in my videos a little bit more. But for now, I'm just going to skip it because I don't have the time to do the research on it right now with everything going on in my life. I'm literally getting married in less than a week and a half, so I need to be focused on that. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe so I can keep bringing you guys more videos every week. Love your reason, drink your teas, and I am definitely going to go read some more. Bye!